Hi, and welcome back to Alaskan in Thailand. I'm in the studio today. I went out this morning and I was gonna shoot a video out there, but by 6:30 it got so hot I had to leave. I wasn't gonna hang around. I would have got cooked. Then I tried to go back down a little while later, and I set up again, and I was got a minute into the video, and it started pouring rain, so I had to run home. Made it home. Here, I'll try again. Probably have audio or some trouble now. But anyway, today I thought I'd talk about how you're going to choose your place to retire and what are your priorities. It's to each and every one of us, we have a different priority on what we want and what we're going to expect out of your retirement and what do you need to survive in your retirement. And actually picking the best environment for you can be that choice is really, really going to matter as you go down the road. You'll find out later whether you made the right choice or not. And you can always move if you didn't. That's not a big deal. And many do. I'm not on my first choice either. So there's some things you got to think about. And you're going to choose a one of your choices is, well, I want to go party. Maybe I want to go into I see all this action on YouTube and all the walking streets, man, and I want to go get in on some of that. That sounds like fun. And maybe then I would move to Pattaya or Jomtien. I almost moved to Jomtien thinking about the cheap condos they have there. I see them advertised for like 200 and some dollars. You can really live cheap there, it sounds like. So I considered that for the cheapness. And then that's another thing. Another bunch of other you guys will be uh, dictate where you're going to live is by the how cheap it can be. And most Asian countries fit that category, except Singapore, and some of them bigger uh, cities and stuff. Even it gets expensive in Manila too, and in Bangkok too. It all depends on what part of the country you're in. And but generally, we're all not all of us, but us poor paupers are looking for just a place where we can stretch our retirement dollars and make it out, make do. And so the partying ain't that big important, and that's kind of this the class I'm in. I'm in the not partying or nothing. I just want to survive and have a comfortable living, eat good food, have everything close by and easy, reasonably to where I can get to everything reasonably easy. And that's my thing. And then there's another factor, you guys that'll be chasing a woman maybe out in the Philippines, some destined small area out in the Philippines, and you're going to move there because you fell in love online with some girl that you never met or you have met and you visited, and it was a visit, it was a vacation. It's a lot different than actually living there and with her parents and or with her family in the area. It can be a whole different world for you. And then with all these scenarios too, you're going to be in a country that most likely does not speak English as a first language. And no matter where you are in that country, you're going to be kind of lonely starting off and trying to retire because you ain't going to be able to speak the language. Even in the Philippines, you don't have to be all that remote. You're going to be living with the family or in the family compound. That's how they live there with the family, whole brothers and sisters, and all of them will be in a compound of small houses and huts and live their own little cousins and stuff. And you're going to move in with them, and they're going to all be speaking Tagalog or Bisaya. They're not going to be speaking to you, so it's going to feel like a foreign land. And that's another thing. So a lot of you guys don't want to come and feel so lonely. Like Thailand here, it's hard to speak to people. It really is. It can be a very challenging thing, and it can really eat at the back of your mind and where you don't really kind of want to live in this environment where you're having a tough time communicating with people. It's frustrating for some and some can't take it. That's something to consider too. So there is things you got to wonder about and pick. And then some of you that are looking for a relationship, you want to find a moderate. You're looking for the best of everything. It's what most of you guys are, where you can live moderately cheap, have everything around you that you need, and not to forget healthcare. So if you get moved out into some area in the Philippines or even in Thailand, you're going to get out in the boonies, you're going to need to be around a hospital at some point in your life as you age out. So that's a very, very important consideration that you might not be making now when you're 60 and in love with some beautiful Filipina and that's living out in a rural area, that's not going to be your thoughts, but later on, that's going to be a big part of what your needs are going to be. So you better be prepared to pick up and move at some point because you're probably going to have to. If you're living out in the province somewhere, you ain't going to be able to have the health care that you need. So that's a consideration. So your considerations will change as you age. That young beautiful girl ain't going to be as important when you need health care. You're going to be like, well, the pretty girl's over here, the health care is over here. And then another bunch of you guys that are going to age out in the bar, and that's probably not going to be very healthy for you either. Good for you if there's a lot of bars there. There's probably a lot of health care there, but you're going to be using that health care, which can be bad too. So you really got to think about living a little healthier as you get aging out too. So that's one thing to consider. So when you pick a place, what are you really gonna? What's the best you can really hope for? And the best you can really hope for is find a place where you have a chance of meeting a relationship, so that you're not totally alone for the rest of your remaining days, or at least have a chance to have it. I think living around the bar scene and all the walking street and all those kind of girls, I don't think that would be a very fulfilling life. And especially as you get older, I think it would be very hard. And I know some of you guys have done this. Those of you living around Pattaya and Jomtien, you've got wives and girlfriends and had lived there for many years and happily, and there's women available and stuff, but I don't really understand it and see it. If you're living around the bar scene like that, I think it would be all a lot of working girls, and it would be just the difficulty factor of having a relationship. A real relationship would be, in my opinion, kind of unattainable. Really, you'd never know. You would never know. Is she dating you for the money or what? So that can be hard. Of course, they all kind of do anyway. But I actually kind of lived next to Soy 94 for a while. I lived a few months over in the bar section of Hue Hin here, and it's not a walking street, but it's a row of mile or two of bars and massage parlors, and it's kind of considered the red light district of this town, part of it anyway. There is an actual walking street too. I'd never been that either. Never. I've been around Soy 94. Like I say, I had to walk past it every day going to the beach and stuff, so I'm familiar with it. The noise can be loud. I lived a block away from it, and that noise would get loud in the evenings and stuff too. So that's another thing to consider. Living too close to that kind of environment can be loud, and I imagine it would get annoying after a few. For me, it kind of did. I was moved over to the other side of the building, and I didn't have much noise over there. But you can be put in a situation where there's the bar noise, and you hear the girls laughing real loud and stuff on a quiet night. And to me, it really didn't bother me, but for some, it could. So keep that in mind too. Do you really want to live in that red light district, and do you want to live there just because it's cheap too? That's kind of what I was getting at here. I thought about living in Jomtien because of there's so many available units during the low season. You could go in there and lock into a condo so cheap, and you'd be around all the good food and stuff. But then there'd be all that red light district scene around you all the time. I don't think it would be healthy for me in my situation. Other people, it'd be just right for them to, and that's what they want to do. And being able to go and talk to other expats, that's a thing you're really, really going to want to be able to do, especially if those of you guys that have chased a girl out into the boonies out there in the Philippines or even in Thailand, you're out away from the Japan or anywhere. You're away from the expats. You ain't going to be talking to anybody unless you're willing to learn the language. Many of you are too old to do that. Your best hope is find a girl that can speak a little English and is willing to learn more, and she'll learn the language for you. And between the two of you and translator, you'll be able to get along. And it can be done. You can do it. You can live a happy life. You can pick the right spot. I'm not sure I'm in the perfect spot. I haven't been everywhere. I've only been in just a couple of places in the Philippines and here in Bangkok, basically, Hue Hin and Bangkok. And I took some rides down through the southern part of Thailand. And it's beautiful here. I'm quite content. I'm close enough. If I want to get to the bars, I can go to the bar and see the nightlife. The food's handy and available. Hospitals across the street. The dental's down the road. Beach right over here. I'm right next to me. And plenty of units available for rent if you can get in here. There's the beautiful women here. I just have to say, this has probably got the most beautiful women I've ever seen in any place I've ever been, really. But just a bunch of them. And they seem to be friendly. Of course, the Thai Buddhist culture, they don't look you in the eye much. So you really, but there's a lot of, and I see normal girls every day. I don't see the bar life, bar girls. Maybe some of few of them are. I don't notice in plain clothes or nothing. And I see a lot of people, Western men here with uh, Thai women that don't look like they're normal relationships. They don't look like it's a bar girl in a pay for play situation. They look like it's actually a real relationships, and I see plenty of them. So these guys are meeting the women here. And I got a friend that came over from the Philippines. He's already got a girlfriend. Didn't take him long online. You know, like I said, I couldn't afford a girlfriend, but I was online just to see what it was like, and I got a bunch of messages from a bunch of women, and there's Thai women here that are willing to talk to you, and some of them were bar girls, I'm sure, and some were, and they admitted it. You know, some would say, "Do you want me to come right now?" You know, stuff like that. But there was a lot of age appropriate women in my age group, and some good looking ones too, and they were seemed like they were willing to try dating. I'm sure that through their dating app that they probably didn't speak much English but they could translate through their app. So that's a way you meet people, and that's a choice you might want to consider too, because there's certain places that, from what I hear, in like Cambodia and Vietnam, it can be tough with the culture there. They don't. There's not much age gap dating, and it's actually hard for a foreigner to date there. From what I've heard, some people, they say it's kind of a cold. The people are kind of standoffish or cold to the foreigners. With the language, it can be like that everywhere, But that's what I've heard. So you really got to do your due diligence and just check a few places, and you got to reach deep down inside yourself and say, what are my needs now, and then what are my needs going to be in the future, down the road, maybe 10 years, or when you're needing medical and you need more attention. You need to, you just can't be riding a trike up the mountain and back every day. You got to settle into an easier life. Are you going to be able to do it where you're going? Are you going to be able to afford it? That's another thing. So yeah, there's a few options, and only you kind of know what your options are. And some of you guys options are limited, and you're going to do what you can do, and that's it. But yeah, those that you got the choice, make it wise. Think about it. Think long term. Is this going to fit me down the road later when I'm an old man and I'm going to need a little extra help? Well, those are a few of my ideas for today. Well, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. Maybe I'll hit the beach tomorrow. We'll see. Bye now.